Hello everyone. The Last Bargain, written by Rabindranath Tagore, is the poem that we are going to discuss today. Students, first of all, let's understand what does this word bargain mean. Bargain means an agreement, contract, or deal. In detail, you can say a bargain is an agreement between two people or groups in which each promises to do something in exchange for the other thing. Children, generally we connect this word bargain with the materialistic things such as money, power, wealth, etc. But in this beautiful poem written by Rabindranath Tagore, he talks about a bargain that is made on the exchange of something different, something that is above all the worldly possessions. So now, first of all, let's understand the basics of this poem. The Last Bargain is a poem written by the famous and renowned Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore. It is a poem about a person looking for a job. The speaker in the poem is searching for a job in which he does not have to lose his freedom. He receives the first proposal from a king. The king offers him power in return for his labor, but the man refuses the king's offer. Then he receives the second offer from a rich man. He offers the speaker lots of gold in return for his labor, but the speaker refuses his offer also. Then he receives the third offer from a beautiful girl. She says that she will give him smiles in return for his labor. The speaker refuses her offer too. In the end, he finds a child playing on a seashore. The child says that he will offer him nothing in return for his services. The speaker accepts the child's offer as he can still be a free man. Now, let's know something about the poet of this poem. Rabindranath Tagore is the poet, as we all know. He was born on 7th May 1861 in Calcutta. He was a Bengali Brahmin by birth. He is also known as Gurudev, Vishwakavi, Kavi Guru. He was a well-known writer, composer, philosopher, as well as painter. He became in 1913 the first non-European as well as the first lyricist to win the Nobel Prize in the field of literature. His notable works are Gitanjali, Gora, Ghare Baire. He is the only person in the world who has written the national anthems of two nations, India as well as Bangladesh. He died on 7th August 1941 in Calcutta. Now let's have the reading of the poem first. Come and hire me, I cried, while in the morning I was walking on the stone-paved road. Sword in hand the king came in his chariot. He held my hand and said, I'll hire you with my power. But his power counted for naught, and he went away in his chariot. In the heat of the midday, the houses stood with shut doors. I wandered along the crooked lane. An old man came out with his bag of gold. He pondered and said, I'll hire you with my money. He weighed his coins one by one, but I turned away. It was evening, the garden hedge was all aflower. The fair maid came out and said, I will hire you with a smile. Her smile paled and melted into tears, and she went back alone into the dark. The sun glistened on the sand, and the sea waves broke waywardly. A child sat playing with shells. He raised his head and seemed to know me and said, "I hire you with nothing." From henceforward, that bargain struck in child's play made me a free man. So, this is the line by line explanation. We will see the poem stanza wise. This is the very first stanza. "Come and hire me," I cried, while in the morning I was walking on the stone paved road. Here, who is this I? Yes, of course, I is the speaker, the person who is in need of some job, who is searching for some job. So he tells us at the very beginning that I started in the morning to walk on a stone paved road. Stone paved road is symbolic of the difficult path, a path that is full with difficulties. And here morning represents hope and courage. So the speaker tells us at the very beginning that in the morning, when I was courageous and full with hope, I started to walk on a path that was full with difficulties because I was jobless. I was searching for some job. So I started to walk in that path, and I requested people to come and hire me. Sword in hand, the king came in his chariot. He held my hand and said, "I will hire you with my power." Now the king, he came sitting in his chariot. What is chariot? Chariot is a royal vehicle that is driven by the horses and that is used by the people of royal families. So here the king, he came sitting in his chariot and he was having the sword in his hands. Students, here sword represents power, and the king in the chariot with sword is symbolic of a person who is powerful. So now the speaker, he tells us that a king came having a sword in his hand, sitting in his chariot, and when he came near to me, he held my hand in his hands and he offered that he would hire me with his power. But his power counted for naught, and he went away in his chariot. But when I considered that the power was not useful for me because it was short-lived, as soon as the king would die, his power will also come to an end, and that's why I rejected his offer. So the king went away sitting in his chariot back to his place. This is second stanza. In the heat of the midday, the houses stood with shut doors. I wandered along the crooked lane. Now here the speaker tells us that this was the afternoon time and it was very hot. And because of the heat of the sun, the houses were having their doors shut. People were sitting inside their houses. And I, means the speaker, I was wandering along the crooked lane. Here again, the crooked lane represents the bent or uneven road that is full with difficulties, with troubles. So the writer tells us that it was the hot day and still I was in search of job. I was roaming around in the city through the crooked lanes. An old man came out with his bag of gold. He pondered and said, "I will hire you with my money." Now, one old man suddenly came out of his house having a bag of gold in his hands. Here, the bag of gold represents the huge wealth, means that old man was very rich. So having that bag of gold in his hands, he came out of his house and he pondered and said, that old man, pondered means thought carefully. So that old man, he thought carefully for some time and then he offered the job. What did he say to me? I will hire you with my money. I have a lot of money, so I hire you with this money. Then he weighed his coins one by one, but I turned away. Further, to show his wealth, what did that old man do? He started to count his coins one by one. And I considered that money useless for me because that was also a materialistic thing, and one day it would also vanish, it will also finish. So I did not accept that offer of the old man and I said him no and I turned away from that place. Now this is stanza 3. It was evening, the garden hedge was all aflower. The fair maid came out and said, I will hire you with a smile. Her smile paled and melted into tears, and she went back alone into the dark. Here, see, the time is of evening, and the garden hedge means boundary or fence, was full with flowers. It was blooming with flowers. In the evening, when I was roaming around, I found that the garden hedge was having beautiful flowers. They were blooming in that hedge. And then the fair maid means a beautiful lady. So there came a beautiful lady and she offered me a job. What did she tell? I will hire you with a smile. She offered me a job in return of her smile. But I considered her smile also fake and short-lived. So I rejected the offer and her smile paled and melted into tears and she went back alone into the dark. When I rejected her offer, she got disappointed and she cried and went back in the darkness. Here darkness represents the end of the day. So the day was over, but I could not get any job because whatever offers I got, that were all the worldly offers. The people were offering the things that were worldly, that were short-lived. So I could not accept that offer because I did not want anything for my job that would be short-lived. I wanted something else. So the day was over and I remained jobless. So this is the concluding stanza of the poem. The sun glistened on the sand and the sea waves broke waywardly. A child sat playing with shells. He raised his head and seemed to know me and said, I hire you with nothing. From henceforward, that bargain, struck in child's play, made me a free man. Students, here the speaker tells us that it was a fresh day. I started to walk on a seashore searching for my job. I was walking on the seashore and observing the sun shining brightly on the sand and the sea waves that were returning towards the ocean. There I found a child who was sitting and playing with the shells. So as soon as I reached near that child, he raised his head and looked towards me with such expressions as he was knowing me very well. When the child found me that I was searching for a job, so he offered. What did he offer? That he would hire me with nothing. With nothing means with no worldly things, with no money, with no power, with no beauty. He was not having all these things. And what did he have? He had freedom, he had liberty, independence, and the desire to remain free for the whole life. So he said that I would hire you with these things, but I would not be able to give you any money, any power, any beauty. And the speaker, he loved that statement so much, and he considered that this was the thing that he was longing for since long. So he accepts the child offer, and from henceforward, means from that day, the speaker finds freedom in the child's play, and thus he becomes a free man. So students, with this the poem comes to an end. Let's have a look on the conclusion of this poem, what we can understand by reading this poem. This poem gives us a beautiful message that all the worldly pleasures, including power, wealth, and beauty, are worthless and short-living. For eternal peace, one should give up the desire to acquire material things. The person without desires and without power, wealth, and beauty is peaceful because he has no fear of losing all these things. So those who desire worldly things, they become servant of the power, wealth, and beauty, and they cannot enjoy what a free man can enjoy. So this is the message that is given by this poem. If you like this video, do consider subscribing my channel English Euphoria and share these videos with your friends. Thank you.